How's it going, everybody? But the officer in charge of the prisoners listened more to the ship's captain and I read this yesterday because I was actually doing two columns yesterday of my dad's old King James Bible. So the officer in charge of the prisoners listened more to the ship's captain and the owner than to Paul. So Paul gave him fair warning about the coming weather. They should stay put. And since Fair Havens was an exposed harbor and a poor place to spend the winter, most of the crew wanted to go to Phoenix, farther up the coast to Crete, and spend the winter there. Phoenix was good harbor, only with only southwest and northwest exposure. The storm at sea, and when a light wind began blowing from the south, the sailors thought they could make it. So they pulled up anchor and sailed close to the shore of Crete. But the weather changed abruptly, and the wind, typhoon strength, called a nor'easter here in the New Living Translation, burst across the island. Take it with a grain of salt. Burst across the island and blew us out to sea. The sailors couldn't turn the ship into the wind, so they gave up and let it run before the gale. So they just went with the wind as if not to fight it, and it just blew them way, way out to sea. So the next day, as gale force winds continued to batter the ship, the crew began throwing the cargo overboard. Exactly what Paul told them would happen. The following day, they even took some of the ship's gear and threw it overboard. The terrible storm raged for many days, blotting out the sun and the stars until at last all hope was gone. Let's move on to Daniel. We're going to start chapter 5. Belshazzar, this is not Daniel, who is Belteshazzar in their language, in the Babylonian language. But this was a king that came after Nebuchadnezzar. Belshazzar, the king, made a feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring in the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes and his wives and his concubines. What are concubines? They are lovers. The king might not marry them, but he would still have sex with them, and or they would take care of him. So, for whatever it's worth, so that they all might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken. Let me look that up in the Google. Hang on. Concubine in polygamous societies. Well, of course, the kings had many wives and blah, blah, blah. And of course, concubines. What are they? Well, a mistress, a woman who lives with a man but has lower status than his wife or wives. There you go. Concubine is an interpersonal and sexual relationship between a man and a woman, which the couple does not want or cannot enter into full marriage. Concubinage and marriage are often regarded as similar, but mutually exclusive. Well, there you go. Just want to make sure I wasn't feeding y'all a can of garbage there. I don't know where I left off. Did I show you all the concubines? Concubines definition. I don't know if I clicked the button at the wrong time, but a woman who lives with a man but is lower status than his wives, a mistress. Concubine is an interpersonal sexual relationship between a man and woman, which a couple does not want or neither can get in. They don't want to get into a full marriage. Concubine and marriage are often regarded as similar but mutually exclusive. I had read that previous, but I don't think I had y'all tuned in. So I just wanted to make sure I was telling you the truth with that. So they were all drinking, and they praised the gods of gold and of silver and of brass and of iron and of wood and of stone. And in that same hour came forth fingers of a man's hands. So the thing, Addams Family. So if you remember the TV show, The Addams Family, they, of course, are making fun of the fingers, the hand, the writing on the wall. Okay. So because that's what this was that did the writing on the wall. In that same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that his joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote against one another. So his knees are knocking. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing, you know the expression, the writing on the wall? Can you read the writing on the wall? Yeah, that's where it came from. And spoke and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with the scarlet and have the chain of gold around his neck and shall be third ruler in the kingdom. It's getting interesting. Love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.